He's mine. Run!
11 lost but amazing horror prequel origin movies that were unfairly destroyed by critics. One drawback of some of the best horror movies is that they don't explain why their plot unfolds the way it does. For instance, why did Pazuzu the demon choose Regan McNeil? Due to this penetrating fear of its randomness, the filmmakers often end up creating franchises. These require straggling mythology where previously unknown characters are introduced in an attempt to explain things. Some of these attempts are surprisingly thrilling, but some end up facing hateful reviews and bad promotions by studios. This video will show you a few horror prequels that were fantastic, but unfairly judged by the critics.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Exorcist: The Beginning, 2004. This movie is a prequel to William Friedkin's 1973 horror classic, The Exorcist, which centers on Regan McNeil, a 12-year-old girl who becomes the unfortunate victim of a horrific demon possession. Her mother seeks the help of two priests, Damien Karras and Lancaster Marin, to help Regan. In Exorcist: The Beginning, archaeologist Lancaster Marin is asked to go on an excavation to a church in East Africa that has been completely buried in the sand for years. He's also a Roman Catholic priest who is haunted by his experiences from the Second World War. He meets a young doctor, Sarah, and realizes something peculiar in the air over the campsite. Soon, a series of ominous events begin occurring when Father Marin is forced to reevaluate his faith. This movie, directed by Rennie Harlan, mostly turns the psychological horror into a gore fest. It is a good attempt to explaining why Father Marin was the first person brought in to help Regan. Unfortunately, while judging this underrated film, people miss its adventurous style of direction and Stellan Skarsgård's superb performance as Father Marin. Along with Vittorio Storaro's magnificent cinematography, the madness of the final battle between the Turkana and the British are convincingly brought to the big screen. Trevor Rabin provides a kick-ass soundtrack, and Stefano Maria Ortolani's production design is out of this world. It has a suspenseful vibe that keeps viewers engrossed throughout the movie and displays some great location shots. Overall, it's safe to say that this is an underrated prequel movie that deserves a watch.
Oh, you suffer beautifully. But I am here for business, not pleasure.
Just tell me what you want.
Hellraiser Bloodline, 1996. This movie is based on Clive Barker's 1987 original, where Kirsty's Uncle Frank uses a supernatural puzzle box to summon a gang of demon sadists from another dimension. He now requires a series of blood sacrifices to escape the clutches of Pinhead and the Cenobites. Hellraiser Bloodline serves as both the prequel and sequel to the original, where in the year 2127, Pinhead finds himself on board a space station in outer space run by scientist Dr. Merchant. Dr. Merchant's mission is to close the gates of hell for good after his ancestor in the 18th century built the evil puzzle box that opens the gate. It's revealed that through the generations, his ancestors have tried to do the same, failing every time. However, now Dr. Merchant has built a reverse box that will close the gates that the original box had open. This is the fourth gripping installment in the series, directed by Eddie. It perfectly wraps up the events from the past films and portrays a coherent, intriguing plot. Although some viewers say the space setting was a tad cheesy, if you look at the story, the film couldn't be done anywhere else in a conceivable manner. It's directed in a creative way that keeps viewers engaged throughout. It intelligently uses the previous story's context to provide a realistic and logical explanation. It adds a good deal of conjecture to the reality of the Cenobites. Unlike other prequels that require the originals to be watched to understand and follow, this movie is an entertaining and thought-provoking watch on its own. Not to mention, it showcases a decent amount of violence, gore, and is every bit as informatively executed. Its dark space atmosphere evokes a chilling vibe, while Doug Bradley, Bruce Ramsey, and Valentina Vargas all deliver outstanding performances. Overall, this fantastic sequel of Clive Barker's original is an underrated piece of work that excellently portrays the origin story of the Cenobites. The Thing, 2011. This is a direct prequel to The Thing by John Carpenter, created in 1982, where a US research station in Antarctica discovers an alien life form that can spread like a virus and assimilate into other life forms. In the prequel, paleontologist Kate Lloyd is invited by Dr. Sander Halverson to join his team, who have found an extraordinary alien spacecraft deep below the Antarctic ice. Not far from where the craft landed, they find an occupant's remains. They cut it out of the ice and take it back to their camp. But as the ice melts, the creature reanimates and begins attacking everyone. It manages to infect them while team members are devolving into the alien creature. This film, directed by Matthias van Heiningen Jr., provides a background tale about how the Thing was discovered and also explores its limitations. Although popular opinion entails that nothing comes close to John Carpenter's original, it brought a handful of modern-day elements to the table. It contains well-crafted characters and overwhelmingly good CGI animation. The practical effects of the Thing are horrifying and are used effectively in certain scenes. The characters portray great depth with varying interesting personalities, including empathetic traits. Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Joe Edgerton display fine performances. One of the reasons this movie received skepticism and backlash was because Carpenter's film was so outstanding, no one thought this would stand a chance. Viewers can see that Heiningen Jr. was attempting to be both respectful to the original and coherently follow through with it. It has breathtaking cinematography in Antarctica's ice glaciers and calls for sufficient mental resources to understand it completely. This prequel ends exactly where John Carpenter's iconic The Thing starts. Final Destination 5, 2011. The first Final Destination film, created in 2000, portrayed a teenager who cheats death after having a suspicion of a catastrophic plane explosion. He and several of his classmates get off the plane before it explodes in mid-air. However, death later finds each one of them who were meant to die on the flight. Final Destination 5 is a prequel that narrates Sam's tale. While on a business trip, he has a premonition that he and several other people, including his coworkers, will die in a horrific bridge collapsing. He tries to make everyone leave the bus, but only a few of his coworkers and boss actually leave. After the bridge collapses, everyone thinks they're safe until the survivors begin dying in mysterious ways. It's now up to Sam to find a way to prevent everyone from dying. This movie, directed by Stephen Quayle, is filled with dark elements from the first movie. It consists of a coherent plot that progresses at a graceful pace and allows viewers to absorb its events, relating them to the original. It has an outstanding storyline with a set of realistic, memorable characters. It portrays excellent inventive death sequences that are not too over the top and are believable. Although critics claim that every other film following the first one was just a repetition of people dying in different ways, this film truly packs an excellent build-up. Additionally, no one sees the incredible twist coming towards the end. Nicholas D'Agosto, Emma Bell, and Miles Fisher deliver good performances. The film is very graphic, which is not surprising for the franchise, and evokes an uncomfortable level of thrill and anxiety that hasn't been seen since the first installment. Its swift and enticing editing style truly reaches different levels and sets a standard for prequels, making it a must-watch film. Ginger Snaps Back, The Beginning, 2004. This movie is a prequel to the original 2000 film Ginger Snaps, about two death-obsessed sisters who are outcasts in their suburban neighborhood. They must deal with the tragic consequences when one of them gets bitten by a deadly werewolf. Ginger Snaps was a massive sleeper hit, and it spawned many sequels that weren't too bad. The 2004 prequel is set in 19th century Canada, where Bridget and her sister Ginger take refuge in a trader's fort. This later comes under siege by some savage werewolves. An enigmatic native hunter decides to help the sisters, but one gets bitten by a werewolf. This leaves the girls with no one to turn to but each other. Grant Harvey's prequel managed to successfully evoke the outlooks that we experienced in the original movie, like sibling rivalry, death, suicide, puberty, feminism, and sexuality. It has a set of complex characters with a genuine hatred of their surroundings. Catherine Isabelle and Emily Perkins, two talented, beautiful actors, portray an utterly believable and brilliant performance. This film reimagines the sisters in a different era, with an exciting and creepy atmosphere. It has fantastic special effects for a B-movie, which is a stark improvement from the original. It contains a remarkable climax with a hint of poignancy. This film is both an entertaining werewolf movie and showcases a pair of underrated, talented actors. It is an imaginative third installment filled with dark humor and a witty script. It is set in a snowbound fort that is absolutely beautiful and pulls the viewers into an olden era. The religious metaphors and Native American mysticism seem to be used in the appropriate period. Overall, this underrated prequel is a great watch, so grab a bowl of popcorn and settle down.
What do you do? No! Please!
Amityville II: The Possession, 1982. This prequel is based on the 1979 film The Amityville Horror that portrays newlyweds George and Kathy Lutz, who move into a large house where a mass murder was committed. They soon begin experiencing strange manifestations, which ultimately drive them away. This prequel shows the unsuspecting couple Anthony and Dolores Montelli moving into their dream house in Amityville with their 4 children. They begin experiencing strange occurrences from the very first night. Their expectations are shattered as the restless spirits of the house open the unfathomable dark portal to hell. The family's oldest child, Sonny, is the perfect vessel of destruction as he becomes victim to the invisible demon's possession. Father Frank Adamski is the family's only hope. This horror prequel, directed by Damiano Damiani, presents a disturbingly chilling plot involving a real murder case. It contains supernatural horror and real-life horror themes, such as incest, child abuse, domestic violence, and mental illness. It showcases significant scenes of counterculture and a thrilling, eerie atmosphere. It contains dark cinematography to accompany a dingy set. Its camera work is sufficiently spooky so that the viewers can't help but feel like something is lurking in the darkness. Admittedly, it borrows certain elements from other possession movies like The Exorcist, but it's still a terrifying classic on its own. It portrays average performances from the actors, but the film's tension more than makes up for this. Its special effects might seem a tad cheesy, but they are way superior to those that 80s horror classics usually displayed. The detailed special effects make viewers hide under their blankets due to certain repulsive scenes. But this movie remains a great prequel and should not be missed.
You're dead! You hear me? You're dead! You're dead! Kill him! Kill him!
Psycho 4: The Beginning, 1990. This movie is the prequel to Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 psychological thriller, in which Marion Crane runs away with a large sum of money only to meet the most unfortunate demise in the Bates Motel. The prequel plot shows the return of Norman Bates, the owner of the Bates Motel, and the person on whom the original's main events were centered. He is invited to talk about the memories that he and his mother shared by a radio talk show host. He also fears that he will resort to his old ways and attempt to find closure. Once again, Anthony Perkins exquisitely portrayed Norman Bates in this fourth installment of the Psycho series, directed by Mick Garris. The film is a delightful surprise, with Henry Thomas playing a decent young Norman Bates. He wonderfully evokes the mentally abused, oppressed psychopath within Norman Bates, with his outstanding facial expressions more than the dialogue ever could. That's not to say that the delivery of dialogue in the film isn't top-notch. It contains incestuous undertones and a dark spin on the mother-son relationship. It evokes a dingy atmosphere accompanied by an eerie vibe that is thrilling yet frightening to the audience. Olivia Hussey takes the cake with her performance as Norma Bates. Usually, viewers who watch the original Psycho criticize this for not matching Hitchcock's direction style. Due to this, they often overlook the significant aspects of Mick Garrick's comic book approximations of desire, madness, and murder lust. He tries his best to match up to Hitchcock and please the fans with his unique direction style, and, in the process, created one of the best additions to the Psycho series. Paranormal Activity 3, 2011. This found-footage supernatural horror movie is the prequel to the 2007 original Paranormal Activity, in which a young middle-class couple moves into a new house in the suburbs. They become increasingly disturbed by an entity that is possibly demonic and most active at night. The third installment narrates how Dennis, a cinematographer, moves in with his girlfriend and helps raise her daughters, Katie and Christy. When certain unusual disturbing events begin occurring around the house, Dennis places cameras throughout to capture images during the night. They soon discover that they are being haunted by an entity, which turns out to lead back to a coven of witches upon further research. This movie, directed by Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman, portrays a familiar setup and premise to the last two films. It sheds light on the childhood of the protagonist Katie from the first film. What made it intriguing was the voyeuristic outlook that it gave viewers, and its found-footage camera work made it all the more realistic. The mood evoked throughout the movie is a huge selling point, since the characters all begin projecting their fears in unique ways. These are through obsession, denial, and a few other human sentiments that highlight their character traits. More than being visually horrific, this film plays on one psychological fear, and despite not being able to see a ghost, portrays several jump scares. It contains a lingering eerie vibe from the beginning, much like the first two installments in the series, leaving viewers to feel like something scary will happen any second. As far as prequels go, this is the highest grossing film of the franchise and must be watched by everyone. RINGU Zero, Birthday, 2000. This is the prequel to the 1998 Japanese horror thriller film RINGU, in which a reporter and her ex-husband investigate a cursed videotape. This tape is rumored to bring fatal consequences to all who watch it. RINGU Zero Birthday provides the backstory to this movie. It shows Sadako as a shy, withdrawn college student who joins the drama club. While she impresses the director, the rest of the members are jealous of her attention. In the meantime, a reporter investigates her spiritualist mother and also suspects something odd about Sadako. She arrives on the college campus to confront her, just as several deaths began occurring throughout the drama club. Norio Tsuruta directed this Japanese horror film, which is premised 30 years before the original. It is a psychological drama and a well-plotted entry into the Ring series. Much like Stephen King's Carrie White, Sadako's character is a young woman with no self-esteem, wandering around, minding her own business. The film is filled with creepy moments scattered throughout, accompanied by grainy dream sequences. It displays stricken corpses and a horrific flashback of Sadako's mother. Its out-of-this-world climax presents her as everyone knows, with hair on her face and a long white dress. Yukie Nakama portrays a brilliant performance as Sadako, giving viewers a tragic heroine. She is a good and pure person who possesses the power to heal the sick. Viewers are shocked as her dark past is revealed, and they empathize with her while the character develops for the worse right up to the chilling, inevitable end. From Dusk Till Dawn 3, The Hangman's Daughter, 1999. This movie is the prequel to the 1996 action horror From Dusk Till Dawn, which portrays two criminals and their hostages who seek refuge in a truck shop. Unbeknownst to them, this truck stop is crawling with vampires, which leads to chaotic consequences for the group. The 1999 prequel is set a century before in Mexico. Johnny Madrid, a dangerous local outlaw, kidnaps his hangman's beautiful daughter Esmeralda with the help of an American female outlaw. Johnny soon meets with his gang, and they all seek shelter in an isolated brothel. Here, he is in for a massive shock since he isn't prepared for the revelation regarding his hostage. This prequel, directed by PJ Pesci, is a fantastic gore fest and pays homage to the original storyline, setting, and plot. Although the movie suffered due to its campy tricks, this was only half the appeal, and viewers still love it for its entertainment value. It portrays Michael Park's versatile acting and is a considerable improvement from the second installment in the series. The script is well written, and Pesci directs the movie in his unique style to make it scary and action-packed in different ways that viewers enjoy. It has a great production value and an interesting set of memorable characters. It has unexpectedly astonishing action sequences and a handful of creative deaths. Its decent special effects and certain elements of comedy highly impress the fans of the series. Although this movie is no award winner, it manages to give a satisfactory backstory to the original.
E ora che facciamo?
Il pavimento!
Mi dispiace.
Cube Zero, 2004. This is the third installment in the Cube series. The original Cube was released in 1997 and portrayed 6 strangers with wildly varying personalities. They are involuntarily placed in an endless maze containing deadly traps. The prequel shows a young programmer whose job is to watch over the reality-warping cube. He defies orders to rescue an innocent woman trapped in one of the rooms within the cube. Ernie Barbarash directed this sci-fi psychological thriller. While the first 2 installments in the series occur entirely within the cube, this takes place both in its interior and exterior. It reverts to industrially designed colored rooms displayed in the original film with a refreshing redesigned set. This film is a neat third installment and entirely gives viewers the context of the first film. It has intriguing features that mentally stimulate viewers and at the same time baffles them due to its edgy nature. It introduces a fascinating concept to the series. This is the psychological nature of authoritarianism and the banality of evil. The actors' performances are good, and its script is so intelligently written that it immediately captures viewers' attention and holds it throughout. The most appreciated element of this film is that it accurately captures the claustrophobic vibe of the original. It has an overall dark and bleak atmosphere akin to the Matrix trilogy.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.